at the Liverpool victory. Liverpool 2, Fulham nil in the Premier League at Anfield. Finally, victory in the Premier League. It's been a while. And it's been a while since we've had Mike on a podcast. I'm delighted to have him back. How you doing,
Yes.
Mike?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Very happy today. Very happy today. Very blessed.
Absolutely. So yesterday was a good day. This weekend was a good weekend, particularly if you are someone who is interested in a competitive title race and the prospect of one of the traditional big six flirting with relegation. We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about Mo Salah because you not had your chance to have your say, never have I, since the news broke. And obviously also Andy Robertson, who announced his departure from the club at the end of the season this week. Now, Mike, tell us what have you been up to in the last couple of weeks since we last saw you, and how has your mood as a Liverpool fan changed over the past few days?
Yeah, it's good to be back, Drew. Obviously, I escaped to Spain for the last couple of weeks and been enjoying some sun, as you can see by my tan and the glow and that. Take my mind off Liverpool's woes, so to speak.
Yeah,
But I would say my mood right now is optimistic for Liverpool's future in terms of the last result. It was probably, I mean, Slot said survival mode on PSG. I've been on survival mode since October. If I've been honest with you last year. So I was way past that, way past that. But I would say definitely on the back of the FA Cup defeat at City, and then the performance against
yeah,
PSG. Yeah, that was a major setback. So I was expecting us to beat Fulham, but even now with that win, it's put me in a better place with Liverpool. I'm still realistic in terms of the problems, but definitely in terms of I'm looking past this season. I mean, I'm looking at next season really, and I'm feeling a lot more positive about next season. Obviously, we're going to talk more about what's coming up in the next couple of days. But yeah, I'm in a better place, I would say, in terms of Liverpool's future, shall we say?
it's really interesting. There, you say you're looking forward to or ahead to next season.
Mm,
I think I'm pretty much the same for the reason that I don't think realistically we're going to get out of that Champions League size hole against PSG this week. We can't do anything more than fourth in the league. So there's no trophies on the table, and ultimately, I've lost faith in the manager. So for me, it's about, like you say, what's the resolution to
mm,
get Liverpool in a better place. Also, we're recording now off the back of, and a shout out to all the YouTube guys that are joining us in the stream, everyone watching afterwards. We're recording off the back of the Chelsea defeat to Manchester City. So that threat of failing to qualify for the Champions League places, which is it's not even a minimum. That's like a sub minimum requirement, right?
yeah.
That's not there. So I just want a good send off for the two key players that are leaving, who we're going to discuss later. I want to see some upturn in performances, and that's it. I'm not in like end the season now mode because I still enjoy watching Liverpool Football Club, even if their
Well,
performances aren't great, right? Because it gives me something to
yeah.
look forward to. I do enjoy following the Reds, but it's been a super disappointing season overall, hasn't it?
Yeah, and we've had a lot of time to sort of like grasp that in terms of our objectives. I mean, at the beginning of the season, we were all looking at league titles, Champions League. That quickly deteriorated into sort of like, well, let's get a cup and finish top four. And now we're looking at thinking, fifth, fourth. I still think it's fifth, if I'm being honest with you. I think
Yeah.
fourth. I think we'll drop more points. But I think fifth now, after Chelsea's result today, I think you can look at that and say, you know what, we got this. Even Liverpool, you think, can't mess this up. And like I said, there's a lot of bright spots, I would say, with Liverpool at the moment in terms of its future. I'm sure we're going to touch on, Rio's performance yesterday. So with that in mind, and also making sure we give Robbo and Mo Salah the send off they deserve,
Yeah.
I think that will happen. But now with this kind of, I wouldn't say negativity is totally been evaporated now after just one result against Fulham. Having said that, though, I sense now this team is kind of like focus on like what we can get fifth and we can put in a little bit more positive performance to set us up for next season. And we're getting players back. Isak coming back yesterday. Little things like that.
Yeah.
You know, we're getting players back now as also, and we got options on the bench now. So I think that it's happening at the right time in terms of our objectives. But at the same time, you can see now, especially yesterday, you think so. Rio, you know, Isak next season with two out and out pacey wingers. I think we could definitely get back on our perch.
I think a lot depends on our reliance on the board to do the right thing on and off the pitch, right? So you've got the
Yeah,
manager's situation,
definitely.
and I'm going to ask you a bit about that, where you stand with that, but also you've got the recruitment. So at the start of the season,
Mm.
I was definitely in the bracket of the recruitment has been a solid 8. It feels like we've got that central defensive gap, and then something made me feel uncomfortable about not having replaced Diaz. Now, I don't think you need to be a fortune teller to tell that actually that might come back to bite us in the bum, unless
Mm.
you're a super Gakpo fan. But the central defensive slip, right? Not getting someone through a door. And then in January as well, that was weird as hell to me. I
Yeah,
thought that the club unnecessarily jeopardized the prospects of us just qualifying for Champions League by not acting. So there's a lot to do on and off the pitch. So like even if you start the season with a decent window, it's going to be tough because you've got the World Cup coming up.
the worst
It's
window
just that,
basically.
yeah, it's the worst. It's the most difficult, the most tricky. Um, I mean, at the very least, because it looks like we're going to do top 5, maybe some of those discussions with potential prospects can get moving sooner than
Yeah,
they might be otherwise
yeah,
if things were in the balance, right? So if you like Chelsea, that might be slightly trickier to achieve if you know you're 3 4 points off fourth of 2 games to go. Whereas I think we'll get to that point where we can start collectively looking ahead to the season that's upcoming. But I don't want to do on that too long because we've got a football match to talk about. Yesterday, as I say, Liverpool welcomed the West Londoners to Anfield. I think we all have a degree of optimism in our minds over what Liverpool can do, but there's so many examples of where they have wet the bed against opposition in the lower part of the table.
especially at home.
For example, the last time they kept a clean sheet, do you know when that was, Mike?
Oh,
Who
in
the
the league,
opposition was?
was
Yeah,
it Sunderland
at
away?
home. At
At
home,
home. Oh, no,
it was
no.
a very disappointing result
Was it 0-0 against like
against Leeds.
Leeds? Yeah, 0-0.
Yes,
Yes, yes, yes, yes. Oh wow, that was the last time we kept a clean sheet at
at
home.
home. Yeah.
That's
So
sackable.
those stats are you can throw them out because it's probably only been like 6 matches, but still, it's like I. The point I'm trying to make is when you are playing against teams you should be beating at home.
Mm-mm-mm.
Usually, you go in with a degree of confidence where we're more hopeful, and I'd like to get out that space of being hopeful and a bit more certain going forward. But I got to give the boys credit because they turned up. They didn't get dispirited when they were unable to get the early goal. And they put in a solid first half performance. We've seen plenty of those first half performances unrewarded, and then they concede first, and then we got big problems. Luckily, that didn't happen this time, and in no small part to Rio Ngumoha, who becomes the youngest Premier League goal scorer at Anfield. So, talk to me about his goal and his performance because to me, the kid is looking to make that spot his own.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think all Liverpool fans have been arguing for this kid to see more minutes, and I think the argument is always that he's 16 or 17 or he's not young, he's he's not old enough yet. But I tend to, when I see him on the pitch, I don't see a birth certificate. I see a player that's ready to just literally rock the place. And the good thing about Rio at the moment is that as soon as his name's on the team sheet, I don't know how you feel, Drew, but my expectation, my hope rises considerably because I know he's going to inject pace physically and mentally. Yes, he's going to make mistakes. Maybe 1 or 2 times he could have passed it, but at least he's showing penetration. He's showing a willingness to score. He's showing a little bit of, shall I say, greediness that that a lot
Yeah,
of players I
yeah,
feel don't tend to want to take that responsibility on. So I think his performance definitely man of the match performance at the moment for me. Again, I could totally get Slot's point in terms of you want to protect the player. You don't want him to be overworked, especially at young legs. But for me, with the Liverpool attack at the moment, I don't think there's any reason why he shouldn't see a hell of a lot more minutes than he has been seeing this season. And obviously, part of the reason why Diaz left, I assume, was to give this kid more time on the pitch. And we had so many games where I felt if he started or had more minutes, we probably would have won. Definitely wouldn't have lost. And the connection that I was quite surprised about was him and Gakpo. linked up really well in the first half. And you notice a lot of our play went through Rio, which says a lot really at the moment in terms of
Yeah, they're looking to him a lot, aren't they?
a lot. Sometimes I would say too much, but hey, look, I'm not on the pitch at the time. But for me, all of our good footwork in the first half came through Rio, not just the goal, which was fantastic. We'll probably touch upon later on in the program. But for me, he just injects that pace, that urgency, that willingness to get into the box and like take risks and score goals. And that's one thing out of this whole season that we've missed. And I think having him on the pitch at the same time as Salah also helps, because it kind of takes, I suppose, defense's attention away from Salah over to Rio. I think a lot of times they were like triple manning on him to try and stop him from causing havoc. So for me, he's older than beyond his years, and like I said, don't look at his birth certificate, look at the guy's performance, and he's old enough. He's ready. He's ready to start. I would start against PSG. I know we're not talking about PSG at the moment. But if you're asking me right now, I'll start him. Give him half an hour, 45 minutes, see what he can do. Because I think that game there, the PSG game, the first game is the killer for me. We score first, you know what we can do. We concede first, we're not coming back. And I think
you're echoing exactly what Jez said in the last pod, but we will come on to PSG and thank you for teeing it up. No, don't apologize. Absolutely, because we're talking about Rio, naturally the question in people's minds will be, now what next? And the next game is a pretty big one. Well, if we get the first goal, like you say. But sticking with Rio, one thing that I'm glad you said it about the birth certificate, because not everyone shares the same opinion. When things are going well, and a new player comes on the scene. Take Max Dowman at Arsenal, and he had one or two moments, right? As an example, the fan base will always give praise to the manager for giving them a chance, for giving them an opportunity, and just maybe relying on the kid's bravery to get his head down and do his thing. Whereas and it's inevitable, you have moments where younger players struggling to find their feet or things aren't quite clicking for them, their heads might go down, then the manager will get criticism. The risk, I guess, Slot was trying to guard against, because we all remember very well that Newcastle game where he got the last goal, which was like his previous goal. If you told me all those months ago it's only going to be one goal between now and April, I'd be surprised. But Slot, right, you got to give him credit for the way he's managed him to a degree, because there was the risk, even when things are going badly, that he might just get a bit desperate and roll the dice, and then it's the player that suffers because he's been forced into playing maybe too many minutes. Or do you think actually he should have played far more and the manager's missed a trick with the player?
Yeah, I think you could argue both were correct. I just felt there was times that we were doing badly that I wouldn't have put Rio in that team because we weren't playing well. We were literally like a sinking ship. Having said that, though, there was games where literally I felt they were suited for Rio just to come on, or at least to start, just to bring some positivity to the ground, especially at home when teams are sitting back. And I think our home form this season has been actually quite shocking. And what we've missed is a player that's willing to, like I said, take a risk, to go forward, to show a bit of penetration and to show a little bit of risk. And I felt with Rio, he could have been used, I would say, at the turn of the year a lot more, because all we was missing basically was someone up front to basically create a chance or to score a goal. And I think with Slot, and maybe in the future, we could thank him for this, because obviously he hasn't played as many minutes and he hasn't broken down like the likes of young players in our current squad at the moment. But this kid is special, and as we've seen at Barcelona with Lamine Yamal, when you're ready, you're ready. And you've seen the difference that kid has made at Barcelona. Again, I'm not saying he's Lamine Yamal level, but I think in terms of our team and our limited attack for this season because of injuries, he could have maybe had a breakout season like Yamal did when he first came into Barcelona and basically lifted the whole club. And look where they are now. And obviously in Edwards, I believed he felt that Rio would have seen more minutes. Hence, that's why he didn't sign a maybe winger in January. So, rose-tinted glass is always good, hindsight. But we knew this kid could do what he did yesterday against Fulham. I don't think this is an open secret. All the fans knew that this kid is special. Yeah. And what he showed at Fulham, we could have seen, I think, probably half a dozen times more this turn of the year, in my opinion, anyway. And I think would have been a better position, not only just in the league, but morally as well. Yeah, I think our morale would have been actually a lot better. Give this kid a few more minutes because Gakpo, for all of his faults, he does try hard. That's one thing about Gakpo. But I think even Gakpo would probably argue that maybe he could have seen a bit more bench this season than starts just to take him out the firing line. And I
I
think
mean,
that's
you
why
could say that about any of our front line, couldn't you?
you
They've all
definitely
been a bit
yeah,
iffy.
yeah.
No,
But I
no one, even Ekitike, I don't think anyone can point to him and say, "Oh, you absolutely should be starting every match."
yeah, yeah,
You've been like a first choice pick into the team. He's had his moments as well. Remember, well, I mean, we've got a recent example with PSG. He's absolutely stunk out that game in that 90 minutes. But
100%.
I share your view that he could have had more minutes, but I'd like to give more credit to the manager for not putting his own interest on the line, let's say, right? Because he's been under a lot of pressure for the majority of the season, and it would have been easy, I think, for him to just put all the coins onto that chip and say, look,
you
go
don't
for it
you don't
and
want to put too much
show me
pressure
up.
on a child, because essentially, let's be honest with you, in terms of football, in terms he's still a child, and that's why I said this. I agree on both points in that, Slot shouldn't also put too much pressure on this kid, and like I said, in the future, probably that decision will go a long way in proving him right, because obviously he hopefully will be playing 10, 15 years at the top, Rio. We've seen many examples where kids or teen sensations, they break on the scene, and then by 21, 22, their body literally just is done. Michael Owen being a good example of that. So definitely protect him. And like I said, we were in a bad bad state, not only just on the pitch, but literally mentally. So maybe having a player that young in that environment is not good. But I still think he could have shown a little bit more bravery and given him a little bit more minutes. Especially in those tight games at home where literally I think he gave him maybe like 5-10 minutes at the end. I would have done what he done yesterday, started him against Leeds at home, or something like those kind of games. I think, you know what, let's give him a chance, let's give him a platform, and then take him off after half an hour or after half time, and if need be. But definitely, now hopefully, I don't think we'll start against PSG, but I think from now on to the end of the season, I think we'll be seeing a lot more minutes now.
I hope so. Yeah, I think that's fair enough what you say. The other thing is, he reminds me a lot of a young Raheem Sterling. Remember when he was breaking through under Rodgers, and we would often look to the bench and think, oh, we need some inspiration because we only had Stuart Downing. Remember those days?
I do remember. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Those are dark days.
Yeah. So as much as people bitch and moan about Gakpo, he's a level above Stuart Downing. Let's say that much.
Definitely. And I think part of the frustration with Gakpo is that we can see a better player.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've seen what he does for his national team.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
And he's well respected in that Dutch setup and in his home country. So we know he's a good player, and he's just not been as consistent as we'd like him to be. But he was an essential component of a title-winning side just 11 months ago.
Yeah.
So let's talk specifically about that Ngumoha goal. Just break it down for me. I'm going to give you the floor, because to me that was just like a feast for my eyes, Mike. Come on.
Yeah, it was great build-up play by Liverpool again. Like I said before, a lot of our play was basically coming down his side. I think it was Wirtz that picked up the play, gave it to him, and I immediately thought, okay, is he going to use the overlap? Because he was literally double man marked at that stage. But that little drop of the shoulder, little dink, little step over, and the way he just uses the defender as a shield just to guide it in the bottom left-hand corner was sublime. As soon as it left his foot, I thought, that's a goal.
That's a goal, yeah.
That's a goal. You know what, those were shots there, you think, that's a goal.
Yeah.
Go back saving that. And for a teenager to score that kind of goal, it just speaks volumes, because that is not only just skill, it's obviously controlled, it's under pressure. He's playing against a man, or I say men, shall we say. And that just shows you that coolness that he's got, and the clinical and the bravery. As our players maybe would have thought, okay, then we just take the ball on, do a shuffle, and they pass it off. No, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm the one in the best position that can score. So for me, phenomenal start. And that's when I knew we weren't going to lose this game. oddly enough, I don't know why. When I saw that goal, I thought we're going to win today.
Mm.
And for me, just to show, and he just kept on going. He wasn't satisfied. Okay, I've done my bit now. I'm going to like set back. No, he wanted the second. He wanted the third. So for me, that goal there just almost epitomised what he can bring this team in terms of that. And he's not. It's just that directness. He's not lightning quick, but it's that
Mm.
directness that he gives us, and that kind of weaponry we haven't had for large chunks of the season, really. So for me, that was a perfect goal to light up the match, really. And I think that was his first home goal in the league, I think, for Liverpool as well. What
Yeah, as I
what
said, youngest goal scorer at Anfield
what a way.
in Premier League history. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah, what a way to get your first goal. So yeah, for me, and that just basically lifted the moon. And I was saying before, and I'm going to get to the second goal, but I think also that kind of makes other players think, oh, hang on a minute. I wouldn't be surprised if Salah saw that goal for, hang on a
step
minute,
up.
let me, like, hold my drink. Let me go in there and then join the party, really, because, that was another great goal. But yeah, again, Rio for me was the danger man throughout the first half. Obviously tired a bit in the second half, as you would expect. But I love the fact that, players like Verts and Szoboszlai was just giving the ball constantly. Look, you take your man on. You're double marked, doesn't care. You take your man on. And Liverpool's performance, bore fruit in terms of the goal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You mentioned the fact that the players were giving them the ball a lot more. It builds up his confidence. They have
Yes.
more confidence in him, and it's almost like fueling his appetite
Yeah.
for more. Because,
Yeah.
like you say, he did not from that point ease off.
No.
He still kept going for it. He still showed bravery. And when you're in that position on the wing, more times than not, you're gonna end up losing the ball. Things will break down.
Yeah.
You may try things because you're more risk prone, as you should be at that part of pitch. But he doesn't worry about making mistakes.
No.
And that's such, mentality wise, a key part of playing that position well. So you're not just going to be a bit of a jack in the box. You have your moment and then you go into your shell or your performance regresses. So that is, to me, hugely important as an indicator
Yeah.
of his mindset. Because as we know, when you're playing at a top level, we've seen it so many times, the great ones, those who manage to make it into top teams, but then manage to deliver big moments and win big prizes, they're the ones who are brave. And this kid is brave. So that was a fantastic moment on 36 minutes. And then just 4 minutes later, if you weren't sure that we were going to win that match, your man steps up, Mohammad Salah,
Yes.
with a hold my beer moment.
As always, non-alcoholic beer, mostly. But yeah, as always. I mean, it was again quite similar to the first goal, really. I mean, again, it started to the left, but then it kind of shoveled to, I think, Gakpo in the centre. And what I like about Gakpo's assist is that he played it, the pass to Salah, to say literally shoot it first time, whereas he could have played it slightly forward, so Salah had to run into it and cross it. No, he said, you know what, I trust Salah here. I'm going to put it literally on your foot. You shoot it first time, and that was a really, really good assist. I want to reiterate that because Gakpo gets a lot of hits, as you know, a lot of negative hits. So I wanted to say, look, that was a really good assist, and the finish by Salah, that's what Salah does. That was a typical Salah goal, really instinctive. Lovely curl bend on it. What a wonderful foot he's got, and that just basically was like, yeah. That was cool. It was like, I mean, I don't want to use the word redemption because he's done so much for the club. But obviously, after what happened in the FA Cup, which we won't talk about, he probably felt he needed to kind of prove, he's still the man. When that goal went in, I said, look, stay another year. Because this guy, he hasn't lost it, man. He hasn't lost it. But I know that that ship has sailed, really. But no, it was a great goal. Great build-up play, fantastic assist by Gakpo, and then after that, I think literally it was a question of how many, and that's one negative I have about Liverpool. Should have scored more.
I mean, you say that, but I was completely comfortable with them easing off. Because they need the confidence of being defensively solid, keeping clean sheets, and just playing out a stable period of football. No chaos, no alarm bells ringing off because you concede one goal. And they don't need to worry about goal difference, anything like that. There's no pressure on these matches in the sense of you need to rack up lots of goals. On the other hand, the other thing I was going to say is I remember a lot of games last season where that was the approach. We're going to get the goal or two. Even if we're a goal down, we're going to get 2 goals. And we're going to lock this thing down. And that's going to be all she wrote.
Yes.
And you're not going to get much joy out of us or much pleasure out of watching us for maybe
No.
half an hour. Then we're going to rest, and that was partly because he knew, look, this is my first 11, call it 13. I'm not going to go beyond this. They're going to be playing a lot of minutes. I need to protect them.
Yeah.
And part of it, in the context of this coming week, is the Merseyside derby on Sunday next week, and that massive game against PSG at Anfield in just 2 days' time from now. We're recording on Sunday.
Well, yeah.
So to my mind, I almost expected them to take the foot off the gas a little bit. So I wasn't too worried about that. And I know it was from your perspective like a minor thing that you're pointing out, but I don't want to kind of hammer the manager for,
because we did kind of go into like second gear, but then the chances that we created even in second gear,
right,
I was disappointed.
Should have been more from it. Okay,
It's just that. I mean, obviously, I was fine in terms of like, you know, taking your foot off the gas and just like you said, just killing the game. But then when we did open up, that frailty in terms of not taking our chances kind of flagged up a couple of times, really, which is a bit annoying. Then we've got a game on Tuesday where literally any chance that we do have, we have to convert. We have to be clinical.
Have to take it. Have to take it. So the opportunity to basically sort of like, you know, get your shooting boots on, get some goals in, increase your confidence for Tuesday. Yeah. Actually, before Rio's goal, what do you make of that? Was it really a penalty appeal where Oscar Bob gets a bit of a nudge on him? It looked a bit soft to me. Yeah, I saw some people in my WhatsApp chat saying, "Oh, it should have been a pen."
I've seen it. I mean, when you watch it in slow mo, and this is where VAR, I don't know what they do really, because when you look at it on slow mo, I think that's a penalty because his thigh, I think it's his thigh, does connect with I think Rio's right leg when the ball's gone. So whether it's intentional or not, he has kind of, you know, impeded him and he's fallen over, and it's a penalty. But having said that, you know, it would have been harsh, but I would have understood if it would been given, put it that way. And the thing about it is, if that's Liverpool, probably by luck, that's a penalty. Literally, because it's one of those that literally I could see a referee giving it, if I'm being honest with you, but it wasn't to be. But luckily, it didn't have too much of an impact on the final result.
One thing that may have an impact on us is Curtis Jones being out. So he actually came off in the first half. I think Ryan Gravenberch came on for him just on the cusp of half time. The manager, I think, was saying that he's probably going to be out of the game on Tuesday because he felt his groin. And although he's hoping for the best, he says he doesn't expect to see him there, and definitely not Alisson either. How are you kind of viewing that midfield now? And if Curtis Jones is fit, should he be starting in the first choice Liverpool 11?
I think he should be starting more games. Definitely. Should we have started him if he was fit against PSG? He did really well actually against Fulham. I mean, I'm a big Curtis Jones fan. Don't get me wrong, I am. I think one of the things that lets me down with him is his body. He seems to not been able to string a large volume of games, and then he gets injured. And yesterday would have been a perfect example for him to actually start, do 90 minutes and show us, I'm good for PSG. Would I?
He's like 25, 26 now, isn't he?
Yeah. But
it seems to be a reoccurring conversation we have about him. And Wenger always said the best ability is availability, and he's rarely available for a long streak of games, and then doesn't really pair that up with lots of memorable performances that make you think, the kid should be in there from the start.
Or he gets into form and then he's injured, and then when he comes back from injury, it takes about 3 or 4 games to kind of. And when you're at a squad like Liverpool, you don't get those 3 or 4 games. You have to kind of hit the ground running, so to speak. I mean, good thing about yesterday, he was kind of playing a bit more deeper role, wasn't he? And in that role, we were able to like hold on to the ball and kind of almost dictate the pace. Against PSG, probably, I don't know if he would be more of a risk playing as a number 6 against PSG just because of the weaponry that they have in midfield. So that's why I'm pretty sure he would have gone. What I would have done is probably go by the tried and tested midfield that we always go with. I mean, it would be a great option off the bench. That's the only thing I would say. He would have been a fantastic option off the bench, because I think if we do get a goal, it may go to 120 minutes. Who knows? But I in this game, the magnitude of it, I'm probably going to give the players with the reputations the starting place in the midfield, and you know who that 3 is going to be, and that's Szoboszlai. You know, I'll give it Gravenberch and McAllister.
Yeah.
That would be my three in midfield for Tuesday, if all fit.
Speaking of McAllister, he came on 68 minutes. A minute later, Isak and Gomez followed him onto the pitch,
Yes.
replacing Frimpong and Ngumoha.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Isak,
Yeah.
because one of the things that is useful, him coming back, is, let's assume the manager goes, right? He is going to need, independent of who the manager is, he's going to need to kind of get used to playing minutes for the club, and also leading the line, because there's not going to be Salah there anymore next year. So I imagine that he's going to be, when he's fit, probably the first name on the team sheet, not least because he costs us best part of 140 million or whatever it was. But he, am I being harsh to say he's still a bit uninspiring? You know, even when he was fit, right? And I know he had that horrible leg break against Spurs, and he's been out all that time. He's only just come back in this week. I completely get that. But there's something in my mind that just questions whether this transfer is going to be a success. Like, I don't get the feeling of him that he's, what's the way of putting it? He doesn't feel to me like he's an essential guy. I'm struggle to picturing him that way, but he needs to be. Are you optimistic about his prospects?
I'm very optimistic, and I think you touched upon a good point there. When we bought him when he wasn't going to be, in my opinion, an essential cog in the Liverpool machine, because we still had Salah. We still have Salah here. So I think next season, when he's fit, and then we have a team that I'm assuring will cater to his needs more, we will see a Isak. I thought when he came on, although it was a very short cameo, I think he looked actually quicker. He looked quicker. He seemed sharper. He was making some really intelligent, good runs, but unfortunately, players like Gakpo didn't see him. Almost could have scored that header with that cross from Robertson, but I think it was Bassi that kind of just took it off his head. So for me, I'm very confident. It's a massive price tag, but it's a massive price tag because we know what he can do. You know, we've been on the receiving end of a lot of Isak goals in the past. He's lit up.
We've had lots of Isak pain.
Exactly.
Lots of Isak pain, not least in that League Cup final.
Exactly. We've seen what Isak can do at World Cups. So I'm not necessarily concerned, because I think next year we're going to get it right. And I think probably in hindsight we should have bought him next year. I think that's the thing. I think buying Isak when we had the Salah, I suppose, tactics still in play probably doesn't work, because with Salah's not going to do the hard yards, as we know, and neither is Isak. Isak's just like your typical number 9. You know, he's just there to score goals, not really to do anything else. So when you've got those two players on the pitch, will it work? I don't know. But I think when you got Isak as a number 9, I would say I'll put him ahead of Ekitike. You know, I would say if we get him right, if we get him fit, and literally he's not been fit all season. So that's why for me I've got to reserve my judgment. I can't judge a player unless he's fit. Now apparently he's fit, just needs match minutes, and already in that brief cameo I saw enough evidence to suggest that he is in a better condition he was before he broke his, was it fibula, wasn't it? He broke. So yeah, that's a serious injury. I'm confident next season. This season I'm not expecting any miracles, but definitely if he doesn't get injured in the World Cup, I'm expecting him to come back and be.
Don't say that.
And be yeah.
I forgot he's going to the World Cup.
Yeah.
The funny thing is he's behind RoboCop Gokares, right?
Yeah.
Who's the darling of the Swedish nation after what he did with his last minute winner.
Yeah, that's my only concern. I wasn't happy that Sweden qualified. I ain't gonna lie to you, because I was hoping that literally he could have a summer off, recoup, work on his fitness, and come back firing. The fact he's going to come back later than the others after the World Cup is a concern. But I think now he's injury.
He could probably do some minutes, can he? It'll probably be helpful for us.
It goes two ways. I would rather his minutes were monitored by us though, not by Graham Potter. And in the World Cup, where he's probably got to play 2 games in a week. After not really playing a year, that's my concern. What kind of condition he's going to be in when he comes back. But if he comes back fit without injuries, trust me, Drew, this guy's proven in this country. There's no question marks. There's no all ifs and buts. If Isak's fit, he will score goals. If the team is nurtured around him, he will score goals. That will happen this summer. I have no doubt. You're not going to spend 125 mil on a player and not have a plan. So the plan, I hope, will bear fruit in next season with Isak as a number 9.
Yeah, I mean, look, they had a plan. I'm sure Slot was part of that plan. Slot won't be there next year, so that'll
I
be
think he
super
will.
intriguing. Okay, well, we'll see. There's a chance he may not be,
Oh,
and
100%,
that's
yeah.
if he's not, that's going to be super intriguing
Mm.
with the Ekatike dynamic, which we've spoken about ad nauseum. Shout out to Miss Summage, who says Slot managed Rio well, especially amongst the noise. More cameos, yes, but he needs to develop physically and mentally.
Mm.
I will say this about Isak, right? When he played against us, he was the most feared
Oh,
footballer, right? In Premier League for me. He was like, oh, shit, not this guy again. Even those moments where we were able to overcome Newcastle, we beat them most times when he was in that team. He always had the fear factor. So
yeah.
I'm hoping
Home and away.
next season, if he can stay fit, then he becomes that guy again. But it's always that danger of you come back from a big injury, you're not quite the same player. And that's the bit that scares me a little bit.
Yeah. But then you saw in just that brief cameo that injury is not a problem. So if there's any other problems, it might be, or fitness wise, but that leg is healed. The fact that he's looking faster now, which I found amazing when I saw that, I think it was like a 10-yard sprint he done. But I thought, wow, how can you come back faster than pre-op? So that's why I'm not worried about the leg at all. It's just if we have the team wasn't set up for him. Let's be frank, the team was never been set up for him. Yeah, he scored. I think he scored 4 goals this season. Could be wrong. So it's not terrible stats. Again, it's not good enough, but I think he scored about 4 goals in about, let's say, I don't know, 9, appearances or so. Not that many appearances. I'm not that worried. And that goal he scored against Spurs, the goal he scored against West Ham, that's what we're missing. That striker that's going to literally get a goal out of nothing and is always in the right place at the right time. Part of the reasons why we didn't score enough goals against Fulham yesterday is that we didn't have a number 9 in a position to put the chances away.
Yeah, that's true. For a long time under Klopp, we didn't have a number 9.
True.
And we just relied on the overall solidness of a team, fluidity of the front line, and the fact that it was a bit of a box of chocolates. Didn't know what you were going to get, right? Any of them could have hurt you. So this to me is like it's an unfamiliar transition to the setup when you're relying on a number 9.
Yeah,
Shout out to everyone joining us on YouTube. Make sure you leave us a comment. Let us know what you think in the chat. Make sure you give us a follow as well. So, okay. 2-0. First league win since February the 22nd. Forest away.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Wow.
Again, it's easy to read these stats because there's not been much football during the international break.
There's been enough.
Yeah. But there's been enough, right, for us not to be in this position where we're scrapping for 5th. But 5th we are, and we are 4 points clear of 6th place Chelsea, who lost.
Looking good.
Shout Dan Stefan. So it's going to be hard, but we are Liverpool at Anfield. We can do it. So I'm assuming he's talking about the PSG game coming up. So let's talk about this 5th place chase, right? So you think it's going to be 5th, you said?
Yeah, I
think it'll be 4th because Villa also dropped points today. They went to the Forest ground and picked up a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps us, as in we've still got a target ahead of us to focus on. It's kind of like with Liverpool, the expectation is, and particularly with the distractions we've had in the background and the slight negativity that's masked or cloaked our season, that you're always thinking, okay, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or 1.5 steps back. So I went from talking about 3rd as possible back in January to please can we do 5th, and now I'm thinking 4th might be possible but probably unlikely. And as rubbish as Villa have been recently, we've been equally as bad. So it's not like you just need to match their results. First of all, you need to overcome the gap and then match their results, and there's only 6 matches or something to go. So I'm completely comfortable and happy with 5th, in the same way that Mr. Sandwich said doesn't make any difference whether you finish 3rd, 4th or 5th. I'm of the same opinion. Let's just get ourselves into Champions League. Having seen what you've seen, what are your confidence levels out of 10 that we will be playing Champions League football?
8. Yeah, 8, 9. I'm not that worried about Champions League football. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it now. Just because of the other teams being worse. What should I say? Shitter than us, really. Basically, I mean, I saw a lot of the Chelsea game today, and I watched Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest game, and yeah, I
They're
mean,
not good teams.
they're not good teams at all. Not good teams at all. So really, it's the fact that we got to play them both. I know Aston Villa's away, which is, Villa Park can be tough. But Chelsea at home, I don't think we have any problems whatsoever beating them. So yeah, so it's. I mean, if Leeds, take points off Man United tomorrow, I wouldn't discount third either.
Don't say it, Mike.
I mean, I'm just saying. It's we play.
They're on one game a week. Well, we will be seen as well.
Yeah, yeah. You still got to win them, and we got to play Man United as well. So don't discount third. That's what I'm saying to you. And like I said, because those teams are not very good. Let's be frank. Man United aren't a very good team. They're fortunate enough that they only play once a month. So that's why they're in the position that they're in at the moment. But I still think we'll probably finish about fourth. But I want us to finish well. I want us to kind of finish the season, win all our home games, take points off Man United and Chelsea and Villa, and just start the season next season on a high. To start the season where we literally maybe finishing fifth on the last day of the season, is a bit of a lull. So I would really like us to kind of win all our home games, hopefully beat either Aston Villa, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Man United away, and that would just really set us up. Because I think the pressure.
Chelsea away as well, right?
Chelsea at home. It's Chelsea at home. Chelsea at home. Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, we lost away at Chelsea.
Oh yeah, the last minute. Was it Esteval goal?
Yeah, last minute. So
another one.
Yeah, another one. But so many of those. So I would like us, just from a self-esteem point of view, if we could finish the season securing Champions League football 2 or 3 games before in the season, and then get some really good wins, hopefully one win against one of our rivals, that would improve, I would say, the mindset going into next season, really, because we can do it. I'm more confident going to Old Trafford than I'm going to frigging Burnley away. I'm very confident going to those places with this squad, especially now we've got players coming back. So and Villa against Nottingham Forest, they look very poor, very poor. I'm surprised they're fourth, actually, to be fair, yeah. So
they've been sinking like a stone. Like
we haven't
people give them, like, in the media. I don't know about you, but I find they get such credit of pundits when they don't really deserve it.
Yeah,
they were at one point in a super commanding position and also knocking on the door for a title race. I don't think it was that long ago, and they sunk like anything. The fact we're only 3 points off them. If you told me that back in January, I'd say, what are you talking about? There's no chance.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hugely damning.
Damning. I hold up my hands up. I say Liverpool will be a disgrace this year. Liverpool will be appalling. So I'm not defending Liverpool here. But any team that's within 3 points around us, you need to look at yourself, because literally you should be 5, 10 points ahead of Liverpool, just by the way we've been playing this season. The whole season, really. Apart from the first 5 games of the season that we luckily won them. After that, we've been in free fall.
Well, people like to look at it and say you spent X million, £415 million on players and your champions, and therefore you have had an abject season. And relative to you, a team like Villa has done, which is true in a sense, because none of us on this podcast and no Liverpool fan I've spoken to would have entertained us scrapping for 5th. But again, if you finish this season strongly enough, that actually can be a launch pad for what comes the season ahead.
And I know maybe I'm clutching at straws here, but the end of the season that we had last year, kind of losing became a habit. We won the league. I don't think we won a game after that.
We went raving. We're in Ibiza, and exactly. I don't know. Players started shut up here, there, everywhere. At the end of every game we lost, there's a big party of the way in. It was funny at the time, but
it was funny.
I think there was a lot of people speaking to me at the time saying it doesn't quite feel right. We could be aiming for 90 points.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a mentality thing as well.
It was a mentality, and like I said, losing became a habit. Then I think and I know it didn't count because we still won the league, but you kind of want to end the league, I think, at least in winning form. It sets you up for next season. When you're getting 3 losses on the bounce that we were getting, I don't know. My mindset as a fan at the time, I loved it and I was enjoying it and I was like taking the mick. But then in hindsight, I'm thinking, so hang on a minute. Yeah, Salah didn't score another goal after March for like I don't know how long. Maybe if he could have maybe just kept his shooting boots on a bit more and focused on the league for the last 5 games and then party the other squad, that might have been helpful. But yeah, obviously ifs and buts. Like I said, right off the season, next season I'm expecting definite ton of events because the squad, the nucleus of that squad is still pretty good, even despite the departures.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I'm not one of those who has completely rose tinted glasses and says, there's a couple of signings and then we're good. However, I do think it's the right signings, the right coach, and again, building up towards that
Yeah,
winning
yeah,
mindset that can put us in the mix firmly where we're not looking over our shoulders and where we have an opportunity to compete with whoever is up there at the top with us, hopefully next season. So, I mean, all that's to come. And like you say, with the World Cup coming up, it does make the transfer window a bit more complicated, but purely in terms of the players we have available now, the core that we've got, that nucleus that you talk about, there should be no excuses for us becoming a serious team again next year. Now, just sticking with the top five, I'd like to get your view on, because I've not had a chance to speak to you about this recently, Chelsea specifically, right? Because we can all sit here and take the piss out of the manager. He's a bit David Brent-ish, right? And it's a bit of a chaotic club where you have all these loan players coming in and your important players talking to the press about wanting to play in Madrid, talking about Enzo here and getting suspended and all this kind of noise around the team. Do you think they're actually a team that could threaten next year? Are they like a rival to be worried about? And what effect do you think potentially not qualifying for the Champions League, if that happens, might have on them?
yeah. I don't. Chelsea aren't a rival to me. I mean, Chelsea have been like I think a running joke basically since Abramovich left. Really, they're not going to be a threat. I don't think to challenge it for the league title next year. I think that club is at a crossroads now where literally the fans no longer believe in the process. The
Mm.
players don't believe in the process. And as you said, you got a manager there that I just think is been set up to fail. Really, he's a yes guy. And initially I was like, okay, this could work, but then it was like, nah, it's not going to work because at the end of the day, once you have a coach or head coach or manager is not able to manage the squad, then it's gone. Then it's gone there really.
Yes.
And the same failings that team has, they've had for the last 3 or 4 seasons. They haven't got a decent goalkeeper. They haven't got enough senior players. They haven't got a finisher. They got an array or a collection of midfielders. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple of midfielders there that I would have in my team, 100%.
Mm.
But as a team,
It's the collective, it's the unit, right?
they don't have that exactly. They don't have that collective.
Yeah.
They don't have the. Yeah, I saw. I mean, Man City was obviously a tough game to play for Chelsea, but you just saw in that team that there was no leaders on that pitch that could basically galvanise a side, a young side. It was almost like they're missing 2 or 3, I would say, big leaders or big signs that can maybe go in there and do something. But the way or the plan is for Chelsea, they just want to buy a big array of young stars and hope it will work in about 5, 10 years time. You know,
Mm.
football's a instant result business, and so I don't see them being anywhere near challenging for the league. If they don't get the Champions League next season, that's a good question. What happens? They can't sack the manager because they'll look even more foolish as owners. But then for me, that is
He's on
going to
like an 8-year contract or something.
exactly. It's ridiculous. But then
He's
and
gonna
also
have to put his CV up on LinkedIn again, LinkedIn Leon.
it's crazy. It's crazy these contracts. But if they don't make Champions League football next year, it's going to be huge. It's like for any club. But that for me, in terms of retaining players, is a huge thing. And obviously, if Enzo is saying he likes to live in Madrid, Palmer must be looking around thinking, what have I done here in terms of committing my future to this club long term. So yeah, I think they're in a very delicate situation at the moment. But in terms of rivals, until they sort out their recruitment policy in not signing senior professionals, then no, I don't see them as a rival at all.
Mm. I think it starts with the manager. A shout out Double S who says Clear Lake Chelsea are not the same as Romans Chelsea. One of the reasons for that is they keep bringing in managers who forget yes men, right? Just managers who've got no flipping experience.
Mm,
like Potter, as good as he was, good guy, very likable. We've seen what he's done with Sweden, but Chelsea is a basket case of a club,
mm.
high pressure, and if you've not been that environment before, you easily get swallowed up, and that's what's
Exactly.
happened. Good managers have been swallowed up there. Let's not forget they had the World Cup winner in Scolari there,
Yeah.
plus others, but
Yeah.
we won't go into detail with that. Shout out Rich for the check-in, and I let's stick with London clubs because there's a title race ongoing, Mike. Many of us didn't think for many months. I was told there's no more title race, Drew. You need to stop talking about Arsenal
I was
and
one of them.
City.
I was one of
Yeah,
them.
because this thing's done. It's been put to bed.
Yes.
And right now, you just have to accept that there's going to be parades around North London, and you will not hear the end of it from Gooners. It's all very quiet from Gooners right now,
Very.
Mike. Right?
Very.
In the sense of no one is crowing up about when we win the title, right? Up until maybe before the FA Cup game, is all very confident, lots of bravado. This week on Saturday, they were paid a visit by Bournemouth,
Again.
middle of the table Bournemouth, who had drawn 5 games in a row in the Premier League. Middle of the table Bournemouth, who I can't remember the last time they won at Emirates. Middle of the table Bournemouth, who've got nothing to play for, but yet they went there, and it was a very comfortable, in my eyes, XG of 0.18 for
It
Arsenal.
was.
A
It was.
very comfortable victory for a team that is going for the title, that had an opportunity to open up a 12-point lead. Don't care how many games in hand the teams below you have on you. Doesn't matter. Once you see 12 points, there's no coming back. That's it. Finito. Done. You could have 3 games in hand. You're not coming back from that. So with that opportunity on a plate for them, Mike, how could they flop that?
Drew, it's dark days. It's dark days. And as you know, I work with a lot of Arsenal fans. I've got a lot of friends and family members, and I live in Walthamstow, which is a very heavy Arsenal oriented area. I think the thing about Arsenal at the moment is that I thought it was done, and I think a lot of Arsenal fans thought it was done, and maybe the players thought it was done as well in terms of the league title. And the thing about it is now, yesterday's performance, and I watched the whole match, I was amazed about how flat the team was because that game in the Champions League they could have taken them that much out of it. Going
No,
into
no.
you can't say you went to PSG away and Wolf that sporting game. They barely came out of second gear and they're lucky to get
Yeah.
1-0.
Because you're
So
coming back to a home game against a mid-table team.
they expected to win. So for me, I don't know how you felt, but even watching it, I thought Arsenal are going to win this match here. You know, even if it was 0-0, I thought to myself, I don't see Arsenal winning this one. And then when Bournemouth scored, I thought they might get a draw, but not a win. I think about Arsenal, they've lost I think 4 games already this season. They don't look like champions, and I know they don't honestly look like champions. And people say, "Oh,
Such a
Mike, you're
great
saying
point.
that because you're a Liverpool fan."
Yeah,
No, 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 no. I'm a
such
realist
a great point.
and I'm
Yeah,
fair.
such a great
But I
point.
look at that club, that team, the way they play, they don't play like champions. They will
Yeah.
score the odd late goal, set piece, or whatever, but they don't have that swagger, that belief.
They haven't got the
That
feel, have they?
exactly. All
Even if
around.
you ask the fans, it's like there's so much. How can there be that much negativity around a club that is 9 points clear at the top of the league, and the fans are talking in very defeatist terms about their prospects because they've got this huge visit to the Etihad looming over them next week.
Yeah,
But actually, normal circumstances, Gary Neville said today, I was thinking the same thing. Normal circumstances, you'd say, we go there, we
kill
get a
it,
draw,
kill
it's
it,
pretty much done. We go
kill
there
it.
and win,
It's
it's
definitely,
done. But
definitely.
what I'm struggling with is the amount of negativity surrounding the club. And I think with their manager, he was trying to get a grip on that because he could feel it. He could feel it with what happened against Southampton in the FA Cup when he got knocked out, and obviously League Cup final when they outplayed. So he proactively said in their press conference, "Bring your lunch, bring your dinner." He's now become a bit of a meme for having said that because maybe the fans ate their lunch and dinner before the game, but I don't know what the players have for lunch because they turned up and stank that gaff out for a 12:30 kickoff. Remember how Slot used to say, don't like his 12:30 kickoffs. Is that a mitigation at all?
No, there's no mitigation. Not when you're playing Bournemouth at home, and you've got the opportunity to go 12 points ahead. You could literally killed it if you wanted. Then I'm not saying it would have been done, but 12 points. You think sort of from a Man City perspective, oh, that's a lot of points to claw back. So for me, whether it's 12:30, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock on a Sunday, Friday night, if that's your target, if you know you can get 12 points and you have to play Bournemouth at home, for me, you win that game. By hook or by crook, you win that game. And then you can say to yourself, you know what, that's it. It's done now. That whole, I wouldn't say it's negative. I would say it's more anxiety that spreads across that team and that fan base. I've never known anything like it. It's like they've got, post-traumatic syndrome because every time
the heebie-jeebies.
Exactly, it's almost like they've gone. And as Liverpool fans, we went through the same thing about false dawns, obviously Gerrard's slip and that. But their anxiety around not winning the league title in previous seasons is a lot more than I've ever seen in any club. Really, that's all they talk about.
What do you think it's down to?
It's down to the manager. I think it's honestly down to the manager. I think this is where I think if they don't win the league, we'll probably walk. I think he'll walk.
I think because if he doesn't win the league, he'll be asked to walk.
And then we'll get or sacked, exactly, because
yeah,
he doesn't help with the tactics. Although, despite the tactics, despite the players on the pitch, that shouldn't be used as a mitigating reason not to beat Bournemouth at home when you can go 12 points. But to a certain degree, I do get the fact that when you see Arsenal, like for example, when we went to Arsenal, when we were missing half the team, I don't think we had a striker. Our morale was low. I think we'd lost like 3 games on the trot or something ridiculous. They were literally champion and waiting. And I think it was a Sunday. I think it was a live game anyway. So I thought to myself, "Oh man, I could see Arsenal turn this over." I was having
that was 0-0, right?
0-0.
Yeah, and we were a better team.
And we had the better chances. And that's why I think their tactics almost like if it's a mindset or if it's a coaching issue, they don't seem to have. Like I said, they don't look like champions. They never look like champions. They almost look like they're just about getting over the line in matches, as opposed to like, this is my match. I'm going to take the 3 points and I'm going to demolish you. It's almost like every game I've seen Arsenal play, it's almost like they've just about got there. They've just about got the win, just about got the points, but they've never looked like, to me, a team that I would say, give the title to them then straight away. And I think that's a mentality thing. That's an anxiety thing. And it comes from the manager, because your manager's supposed to steer that ship, to give you that belief. He clearly is not doing that with these players.
Yeah. Shout out to Liverpool chat, says they said the picture is probably too dry. I think that's something Gyökeres came out with. Speaking of Gyökeres, right? So here's where I give Arteta a lot of credit. Remember the days where Arsenal used to turn up at Anfield when we had Klopp as manager?
Yeah.
And we'd regularly turn them over 4-0,
Yeah.
5-1, 5-0, 4. And it was just like, okay, these guys just want to bring fire to the party. We'll chuck fire back at them. And by the way, they'll get roasted. And that was it. Back in those days, they had players like Mavropanos.
Jesus
Christ.
They
had all kinds of rubbish defenders, right? And I just think to myself, the problem is with them, they've got a soft underbelly. Now, Arteta fixed that. He made them a really tough team.
Yeah, definitely.
They were the kind of team over the past, let's give them credit, right? Because they finished second. I know people like to take the piss, but they've been in the top 2 for 4 years straight, right?
Yeah.
And during that time, what's made them so difficult is that it's very hard to make chances and score against them. But what I saw yesterday, that was like the worm had turned. Yeah. I thought to myself, these guys, the Bournemouth, they've come here to try and win the game. They've smelled blood. And other players, other teams, other coaches will be looking at what they put on yesterday and say, we can get at them. And 100%. When that's the issue, and on top of that, you're not good in attack, that just compounds everything. Now, they got to the point where they were super solid and impregnable, but then up front, they needed a bit more, right? People used to criticize the Martinelli, Havertz, Saka combination, said it wasn't enough. Now they've had Trossard, then they've had Dowman, who's come through to the team, then they brought Eze, then they've had Madueke.
Yeah.
And I see the same just stodginess
Yeah.
and inability to create chances in recent times. And that's quite scary. You still got fans talking about, oh, maybe we need another a winger or so. It's like, how many more
Yeah.
players do you need?
Yeah, but it's the profile. I mean, the names you reeled off there, I would have none of them at Liverpool. We're struggling to finish fifth.
Mm.
So I think again it just
I
goes.
guess it's more about the options, right? Because
They've
they've
got options.
also
I mean,
kept those players who weren't
yeah,
doing it,
yeah,
like your Jesus's, etc.
definitely,
Trossard.
yeah. The depth at Arsenal is ridiculous. They could probably field two first 11s,
Mm.
and that's why I'm saying they've got enough there to have won this league a couple of weeks ago. If I'm being honest with you,
Yeah,
just because
in this season, yeah, for
this
sure.
season, your rivals aren't really rivals, so you've got enough there with that squad to literally consolidate the league, win it, and then focus on the Champions League. The fact that they haven't is damning to me. Um, what we done last year, as big an achievement as it was, we took advantage of the fact that Man City were off, off the scale,
Mm.
and there was no real. I know Arsenal were kind of. I think we kind of like got rid of them around February time. So it was us all the way. That's what Arsenal should have done this year, and that's one of my point that
Well,
I'm making with Arsenal. They haven't really taken advantage.
they haven't. April 27th, Mike. That's when we won the league last year,
April
and
27th.
we knew by February that it
Mm,
was won. It was that weekend where Arsenal dropped points against West Ham. We beat City. Thank you. Good night. And
yeah,
that was it. No looking back.
nah,
Maybe the odd draw against Villa, I think it was.
yeah,
Apart from that, we got a job done. So, look, there was an interesting stat that came out in the Chelsea City game when I was watching Sky Sports today, and they said that in April, Man City, who have this reputation of being like, T1000, just hunt you down in spring, they have 28 out of 31, 28 wins out of the last 31 games in April.
wow, wow,
In April, right? So
wow.
they are well accustomed to this. The difference is where I think Arsenal have a chance is number one, they're leading, right? They're still in the top spot. And if by some way they can eke a draw out of next week, I think it's pretty much done.
Yeah.
But if they don't, what do you see happening from there? Because if they don't, the league table will look like this. Man City will be on 67 points. Arsenal will be on 70 points. That's a 3-point gap.
Mm-mm.
Goal difference, assuming they beat Arsenal, right, to close the gap to 3 points, will probably be down to 2. And they'll have a game in hand. 5 games left to go.
Mm.
Look into your crystal ball for me. Tell me what you think is going to happen.
You know what is going to happen? And I know it kind of contradicts everything I just said before, but I think Arsenal will win it this year. Just because of, as you said in previous shows, Man City aren't the juggernaut. They're not, they're not the T1000 that they were back in the day. There's still creaks there. And I was looking at the fixture lists, and I thought Arsenal had the more favourable ones in comparison to City. And as you mentioned before, Arsenal can go to Etihad and win it. They can literally win the league there. And don't be surprised if Arsenal turn up at the Etihad. Literally, I wouldn't be surprised if next Sunday we do the podcast and we're saying, I hope this will come back to haunt me. And we're saying,
You're
literally,
hoping it does.
yeah. Wow, I didn't see that coming from Arsenal. They turned up because that Man City defense is still iffy. Yeah,
It's still iffy.
don't know. I'm not that convinced of I am. So I think if Arsenal want to have that belief, they can actually win the league. I think next Sunday. So my yeah, I'm gonna go with Arsenal. I think Arsenal will do it, but they won't do it like easily. I see them like being a few twists and turns. They'll probably drop points. I'll say we'll see what drop points as well. Both teams won't win all their remaining games. They will not. The way this league is at the moment, they will not win all the remaining games. Previous seasons, yeah, if City was on a run, like you mentioned before, they used to bang out the last 9-10 wins, bang, bang, bang. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think City will drop points, and I think that will give Arsenal the edge.
If I'm to make my prediction, I think Arsenal do it by maybe like a point or two. But again, it's going to be a crawl over the line. I can't remember a time when I have seen champions who are just literally gasping
Mm.
and desperate to count down the fixtures and get over the line like this. Like usually it feels like, okay, even if it's close, form wise, there's some kind of impetus behind a team that goes on to lift it. Whereas I feel like if Arsenal do it, you will look back and say, bloody hell, they just got there.
Yeah,
If
it won't be
City do it,
convincing. It won't be
yeah.
convincing. It won't be
If
convincing. And
City,
that's for me. I mean, obviously, if you win a league title, you deserve it. Don't get me wrong, because 38 games, you can't fluke that. But they made it. They made it more hard work than it needed to be, in my opinion. They could have
yeah,
done what we done last year and had it won convincingly, literally in mid. You could have been champions elect in the middle of February if you wanted to. Arsenal this season, they just basically made it harder, and it made it more interesting. To be fair, yeah, I hope it goes to
yeah,
last year.
and all I wanted was a title race. I didn't want it
Yeah,
to be a situation like we had with us last year where we walked over. I was fine with it then, but
of course.
for Arsenal to be walking away with it in April, I didn't want that to happen. But I'm
Yeah.
surprised we're in a situation where they haven't, like you. Okay, so we'll see what happens with that. It is 100% intriguing to say the least. And now that game at the Etihad is without doubt the jewel in the television crown.
Mm.
Sky are super happy that things have turned out the way they have. I'm sure of that. Now, I did say we're going to circle back to Mo Salah because he's your favourite Liverpool player. You always vouched him, stood up for him. Your famous quote, special players deserve special privileges, has been immortalized on this podcast, even when Mo was going through his worst times. Unfortunately, and ironically, you did not get the opportunity to wax lyrical about Mo Salah and what he's meant to this club. So I'd like to hear um, briefly from you on this because
Try to
we've
be.
known the news for a while.
Yeah.
What he means to you, and also give me your favorite Mo Salah moment. I think the guys chose one they've seen in person and just one that overall they've seen maybe on TV.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Mo Salah. Obviously, I've been around a long time. I mean, I would tell my age, but I'm in late 40s. Let's leave it at that. So I've seen a lot of Liverpool stars over the years. But for me, I don't know. I've had a really strong affinity and affection towards Salah, really. Just because he's a humble man. He came to the club when people doubted him after his unsuccessful spell at Chelsea, and they thought, okay, well, will he deliver? And from the first moment this guy stepped on the pitch,
Mm,
he's delivered. He's delivered. Forget what's happened the last, few months of that. But from the first moment he stepped on that turf, he is
yeah,
literally blown my mind. And he's been there in the biggest games. He's turned up at the biggest moments, and I've lost count the amount of times he finished, top goal scorer in the league, as well as PFA team of the year. Should have got a Ballon d'Or, if you ask me. That's one crime that I think, the football community should look at. And obviously, he's a man of faith. He's a family man. He's a humble man. Unless he's pushed. But he's always, for me, he's always been about, positivity. And I mean, one of my favorite, I suppose, on-field moments for me was the season I think we won the league. I think it was 2019 at home against Chelsea. That goal for me, man, that just epitomised what Salah is, man. If you remember that goal when he takes it from the side, I can't remember which fullback it is.
I don't think we won it that year. I think that was like the 92-point season.
Yeah, was it?
I
Oh,
don't.
it felt like
Yeah, I
it. I
don't think
think
we
you're
did.
right, yeah. I know it was definitely 2019, so maybe you're
We
right. Actually.
definitely had the momentum, but it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No, you're right. You're right there. You should have won. Yeah, you're right there. But that goal for me was one of my favourite all time. There's so many goals that Salah scored that have been worldies. When you
yeah,
go into YouTube, you look at it, you think, so wow, because we're sport. In real time, you don't appreciate it. It's only now that we're looking back, you
yeah,
think, so
yeah.
he did that. And that goal, although he's probably scored better, but it just for me, it just sums him up. Just the speed, the strength to shrug a player off, to cut inside, and the way he just not only has power, but trajectory and precision to get into that top bin corner. Amazing. And the celebration when he goes, and he's always at the cop end as well, which I like as well. A lot of his stunners,
Regularly.
a lot of
Yeah,
his stunners were at the cop. And literally his celebrations like, just looks at the crowd. He's like, yeah, that's what I do.
yeah.
This is a norm for me. So for me, so many moments, so many titles that he's won as a team, obviously collective, but he's been at the forefront of that. And like you said before, or what Wenger said, he's always available, never injured, never. People forget that. You told me a season where Liverpool been without Salah for 2 or 3 games. Never happened.
Well,
So
the
that
only periods they've been about him for that length of time is when he's gone to AFCON, and even then he's come
yeah,
back and done
yeah.
his thing, right?
To be
And
fair,
had
yeah, yeah,
been one of the top goal scorers.
yeah, yeah. As for me, and that's why I'm old school, as you know, I'm old school. So for me, I always my criteria in terms of what the player's going to be great. Was he available? Where was he in the big moments? Tick 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 with Salah. Tick tick tick. How was he respected amongst his peers? PFA Player of the Year, PFA Team of the Year. So for me, Salah, if we ever get another Salah like him, that'd be great. I don't think we will, in my personal opinion, because I think he's probably going to be one of the last, I would say, greats that we're going to get really. And like I said, for me, in terms of my list of all-time greats, he's probably behind only Kenny Dalglish, the King, in terms of the impact it's had on me. So for me, I hope, and I hope he doesn't go to another Premier League club. I'm sure he won't, because I don't want to see him against us at Anfield. But for me, anytime I see this man, he'll always be, he'll always be my man. Every club he goes to, that'll be my second club from now on. Because for me, as the outsider says there, man, he's got a special place in
you,
my home. Yeah, because people,
you got the
come on.
banner.
I mean, my house. Ask my missus Ebba. I don't have posters in my house of players. I'm not like that. I'm a
I
big
should
man.
hope not at your age.
Oh, no,
You're a
I'm
young
a big
age.
man. I'm a big man. I don't have any I got obviously Liverpool signs, but I don't have like players' names or faces. But for Mo Salah, inshallah, I do, man. And that's going to be there. That's going to be there for a generation. And if you're watching this, Salah, man, just thank you for everything. I've always appreciated you. I'll always defend you. And for me, in my time of following Liverpool, you're the greats. You're one of the greats. You should have a statue outside of Anfield for what you've given this club. And I hope and pray that where we do the send off the last game of the season, you'll get the send off you deserve, and we'll be in the Champions League.
Look, Mike, that was a 10 out of 10 in terms of a dedication to the great that is Mo Salah. And I share your thoughts around the availability, the key criteria, big moments, countless. And a lot of people do obsess over, how many trophies? Yes, we should have won more trophies in that
Yeah,
time. But the level of consistency we achieved, in my mind, struggle to envisage that happening again, right? The
no,
points totals, the reaching 3 Champions League finals. This all was down to a combination of the mindset and mentality of the manager and the core players that he brought in. We know all the names, right? We could be touching on Andrew Robertson in a minute. But Mo Salah was an emblem of that team. What I mean by that is when you look back at this period that we've just come out of with Klopp recently, the first name that comes to mind will be Mohamed Salah. Like you say, from the minute he walked in that door, he scored. I was at that game against Watford where he got his first goal because I live not too far from the stadium. And I was like, this is nice. Let's see if he can keep it going. And sure enough, he did. And also,
never stopped.
never stop. But also, do not underestimate the value of a positive influence around the club. So you mentioned the fact he's always got a smile on his face. Remember how you used to watch Ronaldinho just fill you with joy?
Yeah,
But
smiles.
he
Yeah,
also, this is the player that also took a lot of responsibility for becoming better, being better, doing better for the club. When we went through tough times, you could see it hurt him, right? And he would speak out. And
mm-mm.
Klopp would say, in times he was difficult to manage. That's a good thing. That's a good
Stars
thing. You've
always,
got
stars always are.
someone who
Cody's
says,
easy.
no, these are the standards, and this is why I'm unhappy, and we can be better, we can do better. Remember all those times, even going into last season, where many of us didn't think, Slot's going to come in and win the league. But Mo Salah was talking in terms of, yes, we should be expecting to win the league. There's not
Yeah,
a single player in my lifetime I can remember
mm,
playing for Liverpool, maybe any other team, really, who would explicitly say, yeah, we're trying to win the league. And he would talk, they'd ask him questions about aspirations of the team.
yeah,
And he wouldn't shy behind it. He wouldn't say, take each game as it comes, nothing like that.
yeah.
He would always say, this is what we're trying to get to. I am taking responsibility for pushing the team here, and I'm disappointed if it's not going to happen. And that for me is like that. I don't think that combination of the ability, the availability, the drive, and someone who's always taken responsibility on his shoulders, that you're going to struggle to get again.
Yeah.
So,
and that's for 40 million. I think we signed it, was it 40 or 34 million? I don't know how much we signed it for, but it was a bit in terms of the output. So we've got to make that clear as well, because a lot of people say, oh, his salary demands of that, but look how much we paid for him. He's earned that.
Paid back. It's paid back, even with the salary we're paying him now.
Show you the money because he's earned it. And he probably could have left Liverpool, 2 or 3 times over the course of the career here, but he stayed and he was loyal. Thank God.
The other thing that is quite hard to quantify, but it's super important, is what his presence, because you say he could have left on previous occasions, but what his presence at the club means for the profile of the club.
Yeah.
And we all know about the stats about, anti-Islamic sentiment going down in the region, and the fact he's got this huge not cult following, but he's got this huge following among African football fans in Egypt. He's essentially a god, but he's still super humble guy day to day. You'd always see him at the forefront of club initiatives if they're doing the Alder Hey hospital stuff or charity bits and pieces, or just the general social media bits. He's like always there. So an emblem of Liverpool Football Club, and easily top 3.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's third. Let's put it that way. Right. You kind of dodge a question around your favourite moment, though. So I need a favourite moment that you've seen. You covered the Chelsea one. You said you were there. That's the one you were there for?
No, I should. Yes, I was there. I was there for that.
Okay. So one that you weren't there for.
God, there's been so many. I think for me, it would have been a Champions League final that we won against Spurs. That wasn't there.
Okay, you're going for the same one as Mr. Sandwich.
Just because it wasn't a great penalty, don't get me wrong. But after what happened in the Real Madrid final,
the previous year,
so for me, that would be the. And obviously, league titles are great, but European Cups are ours. So the fact that he delivered that, and it was kind of like, that makes up for what happened against Madrid. That would be my moment. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's poetic just a year later, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for him.
Yeah, go on.
So go ahead.
And I think year after, do you win the league or year before? I think it was like a...
Yeah, won the league the year later.
Yeah, there you go. It was like Champions League, and then it was the league. And again,
that was a platform.
It was a platform for that.
So in terms of games that I've been there for, I've actually got a lot to pick from, because I was there for the Watford one where he weaved in that defense, and I was there with one of my daughters and one of my nieces, and to see the jaws drop in front of you because we were right behind the goal, that was something to behold. But I'm cheating, I'm giving you 2, because the one that sticks out more in my mind is when the cop made the decision that it was time to let the world know we're going to win the league, and that was in January 2020. Breakaway goal where he outpaces the Man United defense to make it 2-0. Slots home, takes off his shirt, the muscles come out, and everyone around me is going crazy. The noise in that place at that moment is just never forget that for as long as I live. And then in terms of one I've seen on the TV, I would say I had like 3 in my mind. But I think I'd also go for the Chelsea one. I know it's boring because other people have said it, but it was just like a mind-blowing moment because of the audacity of it. Actually, that's boring. I'm not going to do that one because it's been done. I'm going to go for the breakaway goal against Arsenal. I think that was one of the 4-0s. And specifically, when they do the inside Anfield camera view, this time they had a camera set up in a tunnel, so you see the press guy.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Some guys from the coaching team. You see Mo Salah racing past the halfway line, and then he's followed by like 2 or 3 players. And then you hear the roar of the goal going in. Seconds later, another 2 or 3 players come behind him. I just thought that was a moment
That was
of
amazing.
absolute.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Was genius.
That was a good one.
Whoever had the camera set up there, he deserves a raise, because that was just like
Yeah.
the best thing I've ever seen on that package that they put together inside Anfield. So yeah, those two. All right, and then quickly on Andy Robertson. So he's announced he's going to leave. Apparently, Tottenham's still an option, which is strange to me if they stay up. But quickly on him, what he means, and also just choose one moment.
Yeah, a great servant for the club. I remember actually when we signed him from Hull City, who had been relegated. I think it was, I can't remember what song it was, but when I told my son, "Oh, we signed Andy Robertson," "Oh, where's he from?" "Oh, it's from Hull City." Literally, it was like, okay, there's no excitement there.
We're all snobs.
I was like, thinking Hull City. I goes, yeah, it's Hull City. My son was like, really? Okay. So I had pretty much low expectations, really. And he kind of started slow. He didn't really kind of, really, unlike Salah, made an instant impact. But for me, what I like about it was his leadership that's come across over the years at the club. He has a calming influence as well, which I like. And he's a popular guy. I mean, as left backs go, I think everyone has said this before. He's probably the best left back we've ever had at the football club. And when you consider some of the players we've had in the past, I don't think you can get a better accolade than that, really, in terms of his qualities to the team. Him and Trent, I would say, kind of redefined the fullback row in the Premier League. Really, now literally everyone's doing that now. I think Robbo and Trent were like the revolution at fullback positions, really.
Template,
the amount of assists. I think one season didn't assist was like double figures. I think he was
having a competition at one point.
It was crazy. So he's an amazing player, and again, availability was good as well. Always tended to be fit, raring to go, passionate, and one of my lasting memories of him. And I was at the derby with Everton at Anfield. And he got into an exchange with Pickford. It was a bit of a lull of a match. I think it was like 0-0 at the time, and there wasn't much going on there. And then literally, him and I think he kicked the ball when it was a free kick to Everton, and then Pickford comes running out of his short arms to try and start a fight with Robbo. And I'm thinking, oh, it's going to kick off here. And Robbo just turned around and laughed in his face for about 20 seconds, just kept laughing at his face, and that made Pickford even more angry, because I think Pickford wanted to have a confrontation, and it kind of lifted the whole crowd, and he made everyone laugh at Pickford. So that was like one of my moments at the ground. I think to myself, this guy's a proper soldier, really, and just his energy. One of the other things that I like about him, and I'll miss a lot actually, and this is going to be quite weird, is if you ever watch Inside Anfield on LFC TV. He is literally like a comedy sketch. Whenever he's on camera and he's been interviewed by anyone, he comes out with the best jokes, the best laughs, and he's very entertaining. So that for me shows you having him in the dressing room must be, well, not having him in the dressing room, I'll say after this season's done, it's going to be a massive, massive miss, because literally he makes LFC TV Inside Anfield. If any of you guys are following, go on to LFC TV and find a video with Robbo in it, and literally he will get you in the stitches. He's an amazing guy to have around the club.
Well said. Yeah, the character thing for me stands out, and also on top of that, there's the fact that that there's a very distinct ceiling with his talent, right? After all, he's a left back and fullback. Yeah. They're not the most talented. It's not the most glamorous position in the world, but whenever you think of the core components of that Klopp-winning machine, he comes straight to mind. He was like you say, when he started, struggling to get straight into the team. So we had the same thing when Fabinho came inside, right? And he had to just hold bench for a while whilst he worked out what was going on and where he would fit in. But from the moment he overtook Moreno in that side, he did not look back. And the memory I've got is the 4-3 against City, where he's just chasing on every ball, and I was like, "Wow, this guy is a machine." Yeah. And actually, this week there was a video that came out that resurfaced with Jose Mourinho in, I think, what was his last game, right? And that game got him sacked when he went to Anfield and lost 3-1. And he was just blown away. You could see visibly he couldn't believe the amount of output that Robertson had. He named him, he spoke about he's just energy levels being 100 all the way through the match. And yeah, that City game is a particular clip. I'm sure most people have seen it, where he's harrying down, pressing. Everyone talks about that pressing machine. That is the video they will show to say this is the epitome of what we achieved during that time. So big love to Robbo. And again, it's great that he didn't leave in January, to join a relegation battle, and B, miss out on a proper send off. So
and I think the greats should always leave through the front door. Get a proper send off if you can. You don't want to go through the back door, down your window, where you can't get a proper goodbye and that. Let's do it the right way. Let's the whole club get guard of honor, get an applause, get the speeches, because he deserves it. Both him and Salah, that's what they deserve.
Absolutely. All right, Mike, kept you for far too long, but thank you so much. There is one final thing to cover up before we leave. It would be remiss of us not to discuss what's coming up on Tuesday. Once again, big shout out to everyone that's joined us on YouTube today. Thanks for your comments and your interactions. Ensure that you like, subscribe, follow the channel. Also, same name on Instagram and also on TikTok. And wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you give us a follow on that too, please, and let the people know what's going on. LFC Agenda, we are here after each and every single Liverpool match. Right. We're also going to have post-match reaction on Tuesday night, when we will discover our fate, whether we're going to basically rue being battered and bruised with the part of the Prance in the first leg and be put to the sword, or if we have another famous epic Anfield night. If we do get through it will be epic, you can guarantee that. However you look at it, Mike, there's going to be plenty of stress coming on Tuesday. I think we can agree on that. 8 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, it's gonna be challenging. It's gonna be hard. Just as long as they don't give up, and if they don't if we get a setback early on, react to that positively. I don't want us to concede early and then literally all hell breaks loose. We literally fold. But that's the only thing, because obviously Anfield, European night, second leg, there's history there that we need to maintain, and we always maintain the fact that if we do go out, we go out, on our backs, on our swords. If we score early, let's try and get a goal early and take it from there. But it's going to be very difficult. PSG are no mugs. They're probably the most informed side in Europe at the moment, so it's going to be a mammoth task. But if there's one place that can happen, it's at Anfield.
I think, 100% correct, first of all. But then people also need to remember that even more so than with Real Madrid, when they've won the Champions League in the past, PSG ain't been that impressive in previous rounds. They build up, and then spring is where they come into their own. But as you've seen in those early matches in the group phase, where they finish outside of automatic qualification, and also in moments in the French league and in small moments against Chelsea, even though they whipped them 8-2, there are vulnerabilities. So if you can get in there early and put the cat amongst pigeons, it does give them something to think about. Definitely. Like if you're 2-0 up in a tie and then you go away to a tough European ground, I don't know what the equivalent will be for us, like Anfield. Maybe it'll be Madrid. Maybe it'll be PSG. And that team gets a goal back, no matter what form they're in. If they get a goal back early on and the deficit is cut, psychologically it does strange things to players, and also can do amazing things for the belief of the team that's chasing that side down, and the ground and the energy within the crowd. Jez made a good point about, actually, we do need that first goal. I don't think, even though the away goal isn't a thing anymore, I don't think you can go 3 goals behind. And this team, in the place they're in right now, and the resources they have, I don't think they can cope with that. I just can't see that. So an early goal, please. Give us some fun, give us some memories, and then let's just see where we land. I've got no strong expectations, to be honest.
No, I share that, Drew. I share that. Well said.
Okay. All right. So let's leave it there. Clocked in at an hour and a half. Clearly, we had a lot of things to get off our chest, and I appreciate your company and your time. Mike's been a pleasure as always.
Always
I think
honoured.
on Tuesday we may have Mike Jr. making his debut on the podcast.
That's right. Neo could be. Make sure you online, subscribe, follow.
There you go. So Neo will be joining us. We look forward to that. Hopefully, it'll be a bit of a good luck charm. It'll be a
Hopefully.
winning debut for him.
Hopefully.
A semi-final.
Imagine.
Chat. That would be good.
Whoa, man, that'd be buzzing.
If that happens, that maybe he'll have a longer streak than you on this podcast. You never know. Just, of course. Pleasure as always. And to those of you watching back and listening, as always, thank you, first of all. Spread the word and go one step further and give us a follow. Hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. Give us a 5-star rating, Mike's Right Fives. And we shall catch you on Tuesday, hopefully, after an epic night at Anfield.
Come on, you Reds.
A winning debut.
Come on, you Reds.
You'll never walk alone.
Thank you, man.